Hi everybody, my name is Selena and welcome back to my channel. Today, welcome to my very first episode of Helena Bina Book Time, where I'm going to be doing my makeup and you're going to listen to me yap about books. So I'm going to do a voiceover just so I won't get distracted while doing my makeup, while also like looking at my notes and things that I wrote down. I just want to talk about these books that I've read, but I also want to do my makeup. So I hope you enjoy. Let's get started. Okay, let's get started with the voiceover. Please excuse me if this is a terrible voiceover. I'm still very much not used to them. But anyway, the first book I'm going to be reviewing is called Fallen by Lauren Kate. And this book came out in 2009, back when I was still a little youngin' in high school. And here's the summary off the back of the book. There's something achingly familiar about Daniel Grigory. Mysterious and aloof, he captures Luce Price's attention from the moment she sees him on her first day at the Sword and Cross boarding school in sultry Savannah, Georgia. He's the one bright spot in a place where cell phones are forbidden, the other students are all screw-ups, and security cameras watch every move. Even though Daniel wants nothing to do with Luce, and goes out of his way to make that very clear, she can't let it go. Drawn to him like a moth to a flame, she has to find out what Daniel is so desperate to keep secret, even if it kills her. So before I go any further, I just want to say that this review will contain mild spoilers, so continue listening at your own risk. Anywho, I want to say I enjoyed this book. I enjoyed this book so much more than I ever thought I would. Like, I admit that I went into this book with very low expectations. I mean, you could say that my expectations was 0, all right? But I still had hope that I would at least be entertained, even if the book was bad, okay? And let me tell you, I was entertained. This book was what I needed it to be when I read it. So I had never even heard about this series. I did not hear about this series when I was in high school and all of that. I first heard about this series, I want to say about 2 years ago, when I stumbled across someone's YouTube video calling the films. Was it multiple films? I think there was only one movie that came out of this. But anyway, they made a YouTube video calling the film the failed successor to Twilight, and that caught my attention. And then everyone in the comments of that video were talking about how the film is based off of a book series and how good the series was. So I looked it up and I finally got a copy to give it a read. And I really wish that I had read this book back in 2009 when it first released, because I know that I would have absolutely adored it. Yes, I would have. I can see a young teen me loving this book just as much as everyone else loved Twilight. I was invested in this story from beginning to end, okay? Even when things started to get a bit crazy and less convincing, like my suspension of, suspension of belief? Suspension of disbelief, whichever one, it was suspended, child, and it was starting to get reeled back in because stuff was getting real. It was getting out there, all right, but I was still entertained. Even when the characters started to get on my nerves, and even when I wanted to smack our main character, Lucinda, aka Luce, for her stupid decisions, I was still very much invested. So let's go through what it is I liked. Okay, this is not like for real, a book review, but it's my thoughts for real, okay? So what I liked. The book was mostly well written. The author has a way with her words that really allows everything to feel very atmospheric. And so most of the writing was very romantic and beautiful, and I really loved that. It worked for me. Another thing that I liked, even though the paranormal creatures of choice were angels and God and the devil are mentioned in this book, I did not feel that like the author was trying to push some type of religious agenda. They were just paranormal creatures, and that was it. Like, I feel like she could have easily substituted the angels for, I don't know, werewolves, vampires, all the other paranormal things that was popular back in the early 2000s. I didn't feel like she was preaching to me. They were just angels. That was it. Another thing I liked, the author reveals just enough info about the plot to make you want to keep reading until the end. Although we still in the book not knowing how Lucinda is tied to the overarching plot of angels and things like that. If I haven't made it clear already, because I know that book description was not very great, but that's what's on the back of the book. We find out that Daniel, the guy she can't stay away from, is an angel, okay? And she has some type of connection to him. We just don't know what that connection is. So the author kind of keeps, just enough info to keep you interested. But by the time we got to the book, in the book, we still don't know how Lucinda is connected. I'm like, okay, I was expecting that because this is a 4-book series, so it didn't bother me too much. Another thing I liked about the book was the descriptive writing. Like I said, the author wrote in a way that made everything feel very atmospheric, and it made it so that I could pretty much picture everything in the story. I didn't have any problems picturing anything in my mind. I didn't read anything and be like, what is that? What does that even look like? Nope, I wasn't struggling like that. Okay, next thing that I liked, as a semi-hopeless romantic, but also not really because I don't like people. In my head, I'm a hopeless romantic, but in real life, I'm like, stay the heck away from me. So in my head, as a semi-hopeless romantic, I actually really loved the idea of falling in love again and again throughout many different lifetimes. So even though we don't quite know how Lucinda is connected to Daniel just yet, we do find out that they knew each other in previous lives. Crazy, you know what I mean? So, but I liked the idea. It worked for me in this first book that they would meet each other again and again in each life that they reincarnate into. However, we still don't know how she's connected to Daniel and Daniel being an angel and all that stuff. Anyway, the slightly obsessive love that can withstand space and time is something that I actually believed in as a teen, when I was a teen. Not so much anymore, but when I was young and hopelessly romantic for real, I did believe that. So like this really brought those teenage feelings back to the forefront that I had completely forgotten about. And so that also helped me really enjoy this book. Something else that I did not like was that there was a love triangle in this book. However, what I did like about this stupid love triangle was that it really wasn't a love triangle. It was, you could tell it was supposed to be, but it really wasn't, because I could tell from the beginning that the second, quote, love interest, unquote, was just not to be trusted. And maybe that would annoy many people for being predictable and obvious. But for me, as a person that hates love triangles, I was actually really happy. I'm like, this guy ain't it. She's infatuated right now because he's different and the only one showing her any type of positive attention. But he ain't it. And I just really wish that Lucinda, our main character, just spoke up sooner about not even being interested in him, because she really wasn't interested in him. I don't even know why she was giving him the time of day. But I wish she had spoke up sooner instead of kind of leading him on. Like, ma'am, like, I know even though if she did not say, yes, sure, take me here, show me this, like, that means don't try and force yourself, which I don't remember him being entirely forceful. It's been a little minute since I read this book. But she needed to speak up for herself more. She did a whole lot of staring, which was weird. Okay, moving on. Next thing that I like, the book ended in a way where I did not feel like it was a cliffhanger, but just left more than enough space open so that the series can continue. Like, I guess the first book, Fallen, doesn't entirely stand on its own, but I would have been okay if I had stopped here. Maybe not as a teen. Like, I'd have been like, give me more. Because, nothing really got answered for real. But I was okay. It wasn't like a huge cliffhanger where I'm like, I need to read the next book now, I didn't hate the ending. That's all I'm trying to say. And I want to say, lastly, of the things that I like from this book, the book felt so nostalgic to me, y'all. And maybe it's because the book truly had me seeing my 15-year-old self, but the feelings of nostalgia were strong. And now that it's all over, all I want to do is just go be moody on my bed while blasting Paramore or My Chemical Romance in some oversized headphones. Anyway, moving on to the things that I didn't like about this book. And some of these are petty, okay? Some of them are going to be petty, but I don't really care. So here we go. Number 1, Lucinda never spoke up or took up for herself pretty much for 90% of the book, okay? I mentioned that a little bit ahead, but she never spoke up for herself. And it was I didn't understand. She'd let anyone do and or say things to her, and she would just stare in return. Like, there was so much staring in this book. She was so worried about being an outcast, even amongst outcasts. Like, the school that she goes to is for literally outcasts, kids. Like, they get sent here because they did something bad or what have you. And she would just allow herself to be a doormat. And it was annoying. I'm like, girl, get up. Pick yourself up, okay? And speak up for yourself. Please. Okay. And when literally Lucinda would just stare. She would just be looking. Anytime somebody said something out the side of their neck, she'd just be looking. I'm like, girl, oh my goodness. Anyway, number 2. What I didn't like. Lucinda trusted way too easily and ignored obvious red flags, which turned her into her making stupid decision after stupid decision and never asking the right questions. This was so annoying to me, and I found myself yelling at my book a couple times. Like, girl, you are asking the wrong questions. Or who knows? Maybe that's because I have my own questions. And I just felt like the author was writing the main character going in a completely different direction. Like, ma'am, the path is clear. It's this way, over here. And homegirl over there in the trees. I'm like, what are you doing? You are asking the wrong questions, girl. Anyway, number 3, what I didn't like. The author portrayed Lucinda as a girl who just can't make up her mind as soon as a male touches her or looks at her romantically. For instance, we know that she doesn't even like the second so-called love interest. And she kind of makes this clear in her thoughts. Like, she's not really into him. So for her to completely lose herself after he like touches her gently, like on her elbow, on her wrist, or just pays any type of attention to her, all of a sudden she's like, well, maybe. I'm like, no. You don't even like him. You're not interested. I don't like when authors try and make girls and women to be so confused, indecisive, just because they get male attention. Stop that. And this was something super prominent in the early 2000s. I can't really say currently because I don't currently read a lot of current YA. How many times can I say current? But yeah, so I mean, it could still be a thing, but it was very common back in the day, and I hated that. Okay, if you don't like him, say that. All right. Anyway, it was annoying to read about. Okay, number 4 that I didn't like. Is this number 4? I'm losing count. The nicknames that certain characters had. Lucinda went by Luce, and I know that really is a nickname for some people whose name is Lucinda. I don't like that nickname. I really don't. The entire book, she was just called Luce. And I hated it. I really did. Like, and she even had a friend named Pennyweather, y'all. Pennyweather. 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 That was her real name, her first name, okay? And she went by the nickname Pen. Penn. Like, why not Penny? Why is her name Pen? Why is Lucinda's nickname not Lucy? Luce? Anyway, the author seriously chose Luce and Pen, and it did not work for me. If your name is Luce, short for Lucinda, I'm sorry, but I don't like that nickname. If your nickname is Pen, because your name is Pennyweather, I'm sorry, I don't like it. Anyway, next thing that I didn't like, this might be 5, this might be 6, I don't know. There is the death of a particular character. I ain't gonna say who because that's too spoilery, all right? There's a death of a particular character that I felt was wholeheartedly unnecessary. They were just so far from being my favorite character, but I was still upset that they had to go out the way that they did. It didn't make any sense. It was literally just one of those unnecessary shock value deaths that authors sometimes throw in stories. I ain't like it. I didn't like it. It was unnecessary. Next, at times it felt like the author was so wrapped up in portraying all-consuming love between our main couple that she really missed proper opportunities to allow Lucinda to feel other emotions, which felt really wrong at times, especially after certain major events and character deaths that I just mentioned. During these times, it just seemed so easy for her to forget the tragedy that took place because she was so focused on her love interest, Daniel. And I'm like, ma'am, your friend, literally one of the only ones that you have at this school, just died. Like, you just saw what happened and you're just like, oh, Daniel, girl, you ain't that in love, especially when you was over here trying to entertain a second love interest. Get a grip. Anyway, next thing I didn't like. Even though I did, for the most part, like the writing, occasionally the writing would feel very clunky and disjointed due to certain word choices. So even as an adult and an avid reader, I had to look up certain words in the dictionary because I just didn't understand what certain words meant, even in context. And these words never actually flowed with the rest of what was being written and came off as if the author was keeping a dictionary or a thesaurus right next to her as she wrote, just so she could sound more mature or literate. And that's just how it felt to me anyway. Like, and I don't say that to be mean or disrespectful to the author. I just didn't like how she did that sometimes, you know? Next thing that I didn't particularly care for, there were noticeable inconsistencies in scenes. Sometimes it felt like the author was not keeping track of things taking place in her scenes, which would cause me to flip back and reread just to make sure I wasn't missing anything. For example, I have the paperback copy, and so on page 379, Lucinda is in the library talking to a teacher, I think. Was this a teacher? Who was she? I'm just call her a teacher. She was in the library talking to a Miss Sophia, all right? Lucinda grabs the book they are discussing off the table. Like, it literally says that. She grabs the book off the table they are discussing, tucks it under her arm, and stands up to leave, all right? But then on page 380, the very next page, Miss Sophia has the book in her hands and is exiting the library first. However, it was never said when Miss Sophia took the book or when Lucinda handed it over or anything like that. It's just suddenly Miss Sophia has the book when Lucinda was the one that had it just a few sentences ago. Like, not even an entire page, a few sentences ago. And so stuff like this actually happened enough to be noticeable to me. This was not a one-off. This was not, oh, it only happened twice. This happened enough times that I really started to notice, and I didn't like that. Okay, there was, what else did I not like? Oh, this entire paragraph on page 391. I'm going to read it, all right? You're an angel, she repeated slowly, surprised to see Daniel close his eyes and moan in pleasure, almost as if they were kissing. I'm in love with an angel. Now she was the one who wanted to close her eyes and moan. She tilted her head, and then I believe they kiss after this. I'm not entirely sure. Honestly, this whole section of the scene made me so freaking uncomfortable, and I can't even fully express why. Like, why are we moaning in pleasure over words? Someone make it make sense, please. That doesn't make sense for me. Why are we moaning in pleasure over words, okay? And words that were just these? All she said was, you're an angel. And he over here like, moaning and groaning in her face because she said, you're an angel. I'm in love with an angel. Please stop, okay? After writing so beautifully for the entirety of the book, the author went and made it weird. Like, this was weird to me. And talking about she's like, now I'm the one who wants to close my eyes and moan. Ma'am, aren't you like 15? Girl, please. This is weird. Anyway, overall, I still really enjoyed this book. I was invested, like I said, from beginning to end, and I read it all in 3 days, which is fast for me because I am not a fast reader. I did actually read the second book, and maybe I'll go ahead and do a voiceover for that too, but I might not because I be talking, all right? I have things to say. I will tell you, I did not like the second book as much as the first book, if I even liked it at all. Anyway, I haven't read the third and fourth book yet, but I'm hoping after all of the stuff that happened, Lucinda, one, learns how to grow a spine, okay, and start speaking up more and stop letting people say whatever they want to her and deciding things for her. But overall, I definitely read this book at the right time, especially since, you know, winter is practically here and I'm in a mood for like wintry paranormal vibes. I don't know why. Once like fall and winter hit, I either want to read fantasy or paranormal things. And this book fulfilled that for me. So it wasn't a winter book. It's not winter in the book. It's actually summer and they talk about the heat a lot. But the atmosphere and the imagery that I pictured in my mind with the descriptions very much was giving perfect for reading in the winter. The atmosphere overall matched dark and cold very well. As for all of the comparisons to Twilight, yeah, I don't really see it, y'all. I don't. Like, I've read the entire Twilight series, okay? And after reading just this first book alone, I really don't get the comparisons. I don't. The only similarities are that we have a female teen protagonist that moves to a new school, and very quickly we have a love triangle with two paranormal beings. That's it. That is really it, which in my opinion is not enough to be calling this a Twilight ripoff or to say that the author copied, because what? Okay, well, I guess one of the other similarities is when Bella is out there in the woods talking about something, you're a vampire. Because in this book, he's just like, well, the girl, Luce, she's like, you're an angel. I should not be laughing this hard. Oh my goodness. Was that a similarity? Y'all call that a similarity? Okay. But that's it, y'all. I really don't think this is a ripoff at all. If you calling this a ripoff for just those few things, then literally everything that was released paranormal in the early 2000s is a ripoff of everything else. Okay. Anyway, I think this is his own book. And if I'm being completely honest, when it comes to first book only, Fallen versus Twilight, all right, I prefer Fallen. I said it. First book only in these 4-book series, I prefer Fallen over Twilight. Yes, I do. Okay, anyway. I can't compare the other books, like I said, because I haven't read them, but I'll have to see how the rest of this series plays out, because Twilight got progressively worse for me. I didn't particularly care for the first book. I was entertained from beginning to end, and I could see why people enjoyed it, but Twilight was not a favorite of mine. I actually really do prefer the first book of Fallen, but we're going to have to see. We're going to have to see how the rest of this series plays out, because what if the rest of the series is worse than how I feel about Twilight, the rest of the Twilight series? Maybe all the other similarities that people be talking about will come up later in the series. I don't know. I won't be looking for any similarities because I don't really care. I don't really care. But I'm going to take a break, go get me a drink of water, okay? And honestly, I think I might have been talking long enough that I need to do book 2 in a different video. That's what I'm going to do. Book 2 in a different video. Let me know if y'all want to hear about it. Okay, bye. Okay, so this is the finished look. I struggled with these lashes like always. They probably look a little wonky. It's okay. A little uneven. It's okay. It's okay. But anyway, I hope you enjoy this green and gold halo eye. I was getting nervous, but I kind of like how it came out. I'm still not used to doing halo eyes. This is only the second time I've ever tried to do a halo eye. I will list everything that I used on my face down in the description bar. And that'll be it. That is it for today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And if you like this kind of video, let me know down in the comments and I will do more because I love reading. So thank you all for watching and I'll see you again soon.